Welcome to another mount farm video. While it may sound like a follow-up video to the one of 2 weeks before, it actually isn't, because I tried out many new trials, raids and dungeons for new mounts, and a total number of 11 of those. So stick around if you want to know how to get them. Of course, there are many other ways to receive your loyal riding companion, but this here might focus more on the gameplay side of things, and you actually have to fight for these in sometimes really tough battles. So check out the videos of other creators where to get mounts from gathering, crafting, beast tribes and so on. Like always, I will try to run down some of the essentials on these fights, but this time we're reaching high end limits of our recent power level, so an in-depth analysis on one or the other enemy encounter will follow in a separate video, or before these will be released, check out MrHappy, who basically soloed all of these as well and grants some wonderful tips on top of that. But without further ado, let us start with some easy catches, if you have access to 6.2 gear or something similar. Yes, the additional 20% echo buff can help here as well if you struggle to reach a certain power level. Some of these bosses do in fact require that buff, but more to that later. The first being the Magitech Predator, which is a really easy one and can be received from a dungeon where a recent power level comes in super handy, namely a la Mhigo. Those among you that haven't finished the Stormblood expansion yet should skip to the next section, because this part contains spoilers of the Stormblood MSQ. However, even as a summoner, I never had any issue or serious damage taken, that you're literally blazing through this dungeon. The speed and fact that you don't have to share your loot makes this grind much more worth it than ever before, as the drop chance is still very low. So go in there and do some classical dungeon mount farming, like good old Baron Rivendare back in the days. Okay, the next one is the weird but also cool looking mount Arideos, which I like for how your character hangs on the back of the energy tube. And this is literally a 2-minute kill, so queue up Unsynced for Alexander, Soul of the Creator Savage, and just blast down this boss without any hesitation. There's really nothing to be worried about, and you can easily kill it with a DPS job as well. Next up, there's the Gobwalker mount dropping in Alexander's Burden of the Father Savage, which is actually an earlier boss, but much more difficult, as you need a very solid amount of burst on the last lag. So just go for the boss right at the bat, but make sure to save some intense burst for when the intermission between the third and the fourth leg happens, because you basically have 3 or 4 seconds of time to kill it, otherwise you will die instantly. I personally had to really pinpoint my burst with Phoenix, or I got killed basically every time. But I have read comments that even a warrior could accomplish the kill, maybe my own gear is a bit too shabby to do it as a warrior. After that one, we are starting into the Stormblood Extreme Trial section, which starts off nicely with a blissful Kamui received from killing Lakshmi and getting the whistle directly, or by exchanging totems in Ralga's reach. The good thing, you can kill Lakshmi even as a DPS, but as far as it seems, only a red mage can do it, because you need some serious healing, but let me know if you bet her with any other DPS job. For the mechanics, just basically ignore everything except when she goes into Shanshala, use one of your real stacks when she casts Divine Denial. Afterwards, keep healing up or just ignore everything that follows as a tank. And when adds appear, make sure to kill them very evenly, even though the fatal soft enrage mechanic doesn't seem to do anything anymore. When she disappears, make sure to use another Vril and start dancing with the song and vibes of the boss. Then finish her afterwards while keeping your HP at a reasonable state and maybe using another Vril against an amplified Divine Denial. Unfortunately, Susano cannot be killed solo because of the sword mechanic. One person definitely has to retaliate the sword with an active time maneuver, while a second player needs to destroy it. You cannot do both, and even AoEs, dots or any tricks like that won't deal enough damage to clap the sword while you're holding it. The same goes for another big spoiler extreme trial, as there will be meteors that create necessary zones to survive, and you cannot place different ones as a single player. However, there are 3 very impressive Kamuis you can solo farm, and which I already did in a video last time, because you can combine this with making Gil very nicely. So if you're interested in a very in-detail explanation and guide how to get the legendary Kamui, Auspicious Kamui or the gorgeous Euphonious Kamui, as well as making some decent Gil in the meantime, check out the video linked in the description or click on that little icon in the top right corner. The quick summary, the green one is received upon farming Shinryu Extreme, the white one from Byakko Extreme and the reddish one from Susaku Extreme, being one of the toughest challenges around. But like I said and explained in the video mentioned, the ingredients you can receive there are worth every blood, sweat and tear. One that doesn't turn out to be a valuable challenge from the Gil making aspect is Sireo Extreme, because as far as I'm informed correctly, you need some additional echo buffs that you only receive upon fighting the boss for at least 3 minutes. Otherwise I ran into the enrage. but I do guess that you can easily beat him with the right uptime optimization and having some Abyssal Savage gear already. I ran into a 6% enrage on my Dark Knight and haven't used pots, so it is decently close and Echo will easily push you towards victory. However, apart from basically all the usual mechanics that you need to do in the usual way, like shielding up against stackers, letting the center knockback kick you into the snakes to not be dragged into the water, or the usual alternation between circle and donut AoEs that Cyreo is doing, as well as the giant Shiki in the background that always hits the left and right side in diversion. The big thing, however, is the double team stack mechanic that forced you to split up 2 teams back in the days. However, there's a chance to survive this as a warrior or even Dark Knight, but I guess the other tanks will do so as well, by either using your oh shit button like Living Dead, or by absolutely going insane on mitigations, which is the way I did it as Dark Knight even without a single stack of additional Echo. Warrior is kinda the same, just make sure that you use Shake It Off before the other mitigation tools, because these are more effective than buffing your shield here, as we're talking about a basic blast of around 300k damage, and to endure this you need at least item level 610 gear or some Echo stacks. The funny thing here, the whistle dropped on my first solo kill, so I guess I'm lucky or the drop chance is really not that bad. Alright, coming to Rathalos, that had been featured in a collaboration event back in the Stormblood days with Monster Hunter. And this fight is very unusual and setups like tanks or healers don't grant any benefit here. You can easily do it as DPS as you're making wise usage of your potion stacks. So begin by pushing in some decent amount of damage right at the start and then go for the adds or let them be killed by any possible cleaving potential you have access to. Afterwards a big bull will appear and you need to kill it ASAP, because you need it to hide yourself behind its dead body for surviving Rathalos' instant kill Fire Breath. Then a second phase will start, which is super annoying and can be completed by filling that down gauge that you can do by pressing GCDs. And as the boss himself will not receive any significant damage in the meantime, just use whatever fast GCD you have access to, while avoiding to die. So make sure to press potions whenever you drop low on HP and stay away from Rathalos' charge attacks that will knock you back and stun you for 5 seconds. One thing to mention though, I'm not completely sure if that is intended on solo as well, but I technically died once, but could just stand up again to keep the fight going. Yes, in a normal group play this works by having a certain amount of raises for the whole party, but I'm not sure if that works consistently being on your own here, so better be safe than sorry, right? Once cleared you can either be lucky to get the whistle directly or by exchanging Rathalos plus scales that are guaranteed dropped, which you have to cut off his dead body, so don't leave the fight before you did that. Okay, coming to the final 2 bosses that of course feature the next level of challenges. The biggest difficulty here is that you have to know the strats and mechanics of them, so it can take a while. But I already had a lot of fun trying my best to beat them, even though I haven't succeeded yet. But technically it is possible as a tank, as others on the internet have proven by now. The first of these tough challenges is Deltascape V4 Savage, dropping the very cool Alti Royalty mount that has a very unique design except for giving the flashbacks. It is a very top-notch mount to have, so stick around for a full guide on this boss coming very soon. Last but not least, the second tough challenge is indeed something I bet from a theoretical standpoint, but I just didn't have enough damage available, featuring God Kefka and the keys for the Air Force mount. That is a well-known reference to Final Fantasy VI and might be interesting for some players. However, the DPS check on this boss is tough, but I honestly believe with some better handling of the Trine mechanic and one or the other pieces of Abyssal Savage gear, it is actually not a bad fight. Lots of cool mechanics and otherwise just basic tanking and spanking as a warrior. So once I manage to pull it off by either playing more optimally or having more gear available, I will let you know and run down the whole fight with you together. And that's it for now. I believe there are a couple of fights out there that with full item level 630 or with the next tier are definitely doable. Omega Alphascape Savage for example. So I will try my best to get better gear in the next couple of weeks and let you know whenever I can add some solo farmable mounts to this list or a follow-up video coming very soon. Until then, stick around for some guides of these bosses that you can kill solo already, and until next time, enjoy your solo challenges and keep loving Final Fantasy.